Hi everybody, I'm Phil Fatica. Welcome once again to the Millcreek Government Channel. It is Channel 9, and today we are going to be discussing the Independent Council on Aging, and the two experts on that subject and that particular institution. Sitting next to me is Matthew Trott. Matthew is the president, and next to Matt is Rick Proctor. He's the membership chair of the Independent Council on Aging. Here's the toss-up question. What is the Independent Council on Aging? What does it do?
Well, our mission is basically to improve the quality of life of senior citizens, as well as foster a positive image of aging. As you know, there are a lot more people in that category anymore. In Erie County, 60,000 people are considered seniors, 60 years and older, so the numbers are growing, and the Independent Council on Aging is a voluntary group that business professionals, private, nonprofit groups, local professionals who come together to basically discuss the issues, network, and provide different services to seniors.
Thank you for saying that, because you work for a service organization and you work for a life insurance company, but yet you volunteer your time for the Independent Council on Aging. So Matt, let's go back to you. You're the membership chair. Who are you trying to get to be members?
Well, primarily anybody that in their business and their sphere of influence works with the older population, such as caregivers, attorneys, financial advisors, reverse mortgage consultants, bankers. It runs the gamut of those types of people, because the services that are required are so broad by the senior population. So we like to have a nice cross-reference, and there's not a competitive, there are competing organizations actually in the ICA, but it's not a competitive atmosphere, because a lot of people are specialized in a niche, and they can help a senior out in one way that another agency can't. So we have a lot of cross collaboration and help.
Well, as long as the three of us aren't aging, I'm good with that, so we're comfortable.
I like the quote, if I could. I like
you can have that one. I'll write that one right here in blue ink. But I want to say something that we were discussing, Matt and I, before we started taping, is that we've entered into an unprecedented era here in our country. And yet at the same time that we're entering into that, people are working longer and saying, I don't want to sit on the porch anymore. That's boring. I flunked retirement, so to speak. Let's take the unprecedented era. What are we doing as far as that aging?
As everybody knows, because it's throughout the media and in front of everybody all day long, the number of baby boomers, the generation, is increasing. There's just a lot more people out there in their golden years and their later years of life. The other side of that coin is, well, the normal life expectancy has gone up through the roof by decades, and a whole decade longer worth of services is really overall straining the system that was never designed to provide services for that long of a term of life. And even before the 1950s, the average life expectancy was something that could be handled by the system. And now that people are living longer, there's more of them, and it's not only a national thing, it's global. Every country is dealing with the same thing. As healthcare gets better at keeping people aging longer, and then you get all those other issues that come with that, Alzheimer's and stuff, all those other diseases that just weren't around.
They have a really nice brochure that I got this information from. Every day 6,000 Americans turn 65. That's a staggering number. Matt, I want to go back to you, or Rick, go back to you rather. Can you categorize any 2 or 3 or 5 services that people gravitate toward more as they age, as opposed to some that maybe won't make it? I mean, it's changing exponentially.
It is.
It's a moving target.
The number one, probably the largest group of providers that we have is the home health care.
Home health care.
That's by far. I mean, and there's such a need for people that want to stay in their home, they want to age in place. Aging in place involves usually having somebody to come in and help you with the cooking, the cleaning, sometimes bathing. Sometimes some of the people that we have are registered nurses, and they can do quite a few things at home. And some of the individuals are living in senior type housing, and they need those kinds of services even with the help that they're getting from the provider, depending on what level they're at.
Yeah. Can I get personal here? I would assume your parents are still alive. Your parents are still alive?
No, actually mine have passed away.
Okay, and mine are passed away too, but I'm a little bit older than you. But they passed away at a pretty lengthy age. So it's perhaps, is it people like you that you're caught, and I don't mean that in a bad sense, you have your parents up here, you have you, and if you have children, they're down here, and you're in that sandwich generation. How does that affect your life?
Well, actually, right now,
you didn't tell them.
My mother, and if she's watching this, she's not getting any older.
Oh no, absolutely.
No, not getting
I love
any
her
older at all, Mom. But she is quite a bit of help because we have an infant at home. But that can change. I mean,
sure.
as unfortunately, Mom, you are getting older, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
But and things can change, and needs can change,
yeah.
and what I have to do for my mother could become much different in the future. Hopefully not. Hopefully she'll stay 60-ish.
There you go. How do you see yourselves, if you have children, how do you see yourselves, how do you think your kids see you about your aging? What perspective do they have on that?
Let's need to turn it around 360 in that. The neat thing with sandwich generation, like you mentioned, is that they're learning some of the pitfalls that they're seeing in their parents to navigate the long-term care system and get needed supports that are hard to find for them. So they're learning a lot of lessons of what they're going to need in 20, 30 years when they reach that point.
Are they going to learn them?
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Right.
Save.
Yeah, there's a wonderful guide that the Independent Council on Aging puts out. You probably have seen this. It has a whole slew, lack of a better word, of things you need to know. Emergency services, hospitals, education, insurance, help in the home. And you just peel through it and it tells you who to call if you don't know who to call. But I think one of the great things that I liked about the brochures you put out was that you have about aging, that by the year 2030, 20% of all Americans will be 65 years of age or older. And we've never been that way before. Is that correct?
Correct. There's
never done that.
Unprecedented
Never been there.
In the history of the world, quite frankly.
And also, I like this too, we are living a decade longer than our parents. You said that. Physical activity has shown that you can almost anti-age. That physical activity is pretty good on the cardiovascular and neurological systems. We exercise. I'm going to call you out here. Do you exercise?
Yes.
You?
Yep, I got a treadmill at home.
Yeah, me too.
And that's the only way to avoid some of those issues, like I said, with Alzheimer's and stuff like that. You gotta.
You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, yes, and you've been brought up to believe that. Yeah, that's part of your DNA, that thing there. The current 50-plus population is 80 million, and it will grow to 97 million in just 3 short years. So we're exponentially getting.
And then on top of that, we're going to have a tripling of the amount of people that are going to be 90 years old. 90 years of age or older.
And you see more and more 100-year-olds. A friend of mine comes back to visit his aunt. She's 106. They're doing DNA on her to discover, how are you living so long? And she lives here in Erie. And I thought that's really interesting. Another statistic here is that about 80% of the aged are healthy enough to engage in very normal activities. There's not the sitting on the porch, rocking, going, I'm too old to do that. And when I say normal activities, this includes sexual activities, that people are sexually active into their 70s easily, or 80s, or whatever. And that nursing homes are proof that people go visit each other in the rooms. I don't know any delicate way to put that. So, this is a really good one, though. Drivers who are over the age of 65 have fewer accidents per person than drivers under the age of 65. So a lot of myths to explore here about aging and what you want to do, what you think is important in your life. Do you want to just simply say, I'm out of here, I'm taking the Social Security, and I'm going to cash out at 65 or 66 or 67? And you have some questions about that? These are the guys to talk to, because Matt and Rick are both concerned with the Independent Council on Aging. So let's take Phil here. I need your services. Do I call you? Do I go on the website? How do I get to you?
Probably both.
Okay.
Probably any and all. like I said earlier, we're a voluntary organization, so all of our members, there's no full-time staff or anything like that. So you can contact us at our phone number, 835-7485. You'll get an answering machine.
Okay.
It's not staffed full-time,
Okay.
but you can leave a message, and one of our members will get back with you.
Try to get back
we can
within
direct it.
24 to 48 hours.
Okay, this includes,
Leaving a message.
I need a lawyer. I need some law help, legal help. That's okay? Somebody will direct you?
Absolutely okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
is there a pharmacy close to where I live? That kind of stuff? You'll answer those?
One of our members will know the answer. And
Okay.
that's usually what we do is we guide different people to different resources to the membership. The other thing is the website, and you can explore that on your own. And the whole guides to services is available, that directory on the website
And on
too.
top
which
of that, if
is
there isn't
ICA.
a service that is in here that's not provided, I've actually been on the phone with people and let me Google that for you. Yeah, I'll Google it and I'll give
Okay.
you some. Some of our senior clients are not internet savvy, but some are very savvy.
Sure.
But for those folks that aren't, I mean, it just takes me a couple minutes. Or 411 it, I'll internet search it, Google it, and here you go. Here's a service. It's not a recommended service, but it is a service. And
Okay.
you can call them and make your mind up.
Name the website. The website is
ICAErie.org.
one word.
CA
ICAErie.org.
Erie, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
that's in one word. Okay. The problem of, quote, or the problem or the opportunity of aging in our country is, like you said, it's worldwide. We are living longer, we're living healthier. We don't want to retire after 30 years on the job, well, sometimes before 30 years on the job. But people see second, and my classes, people have as many as 5 careers in their lifetime, 30 jobs, 25 jobs. And people today who are in their 20s see nothing about saying, well, I'm down here, I don't want to work here anymore. They're not going to hang out at the GE for 35 years and get a handshake and a gold watch saying thank you, goodbye. How does that play into what you people do here with the Independent Council on Aging? Are they preparing for their future, or they're saying, it's never going to arrive, I'm okay?
One of the key things to that is that can be part of the solution for the number of consumers that are going to be in need of services. Much like we're a voluntary organization, you can volunteer your time.
Okay.
There are a number of nonprofits and areas throughout the community that you can volunteer your time, delivering meals or going to senior centers or what have you, just to be a volunteer at any of those things. So to those people that are done with their career or at the retiring early, we call them the well elderly, the active elderly, volunteerism is a key component. And again, if contact Independent Council on Aging, we can refer you to all sorts of different volunteer opportunities.
That brings up a good point for you, Rick. He mentioned well elderly, but so much of that is poverty. People who just didn't plan well, or so, for whatever fortune, just never fell through the nets, or whatever, however you want to say that. How do you deal with that as an insurance person? What can you do with there?
Well, there's
Erie
there's-
especially, the city
yeah,
of Erie, so much poverty.
There is, and there's a lot of things that people have that are not looking at. They can look at their home equity a little bit harder. Well, there's a lot of home equity out there, and home equity is one of those things that you can tap it and you can have a payment. You can tap it and not have a payment, and some of those vehicles, such as reverse mortgages, annuities. People are going to have to become much more creative in their retirement as they go forward, as aging goes on, and taking some of these items that they're a little bit fearful about exploring. Really get the information, find out how these vehicles can help you in your retirement. Sit down with a specialist that understands these different items and financial products and services, and see if they fit into your retirement plan to help keep you your assets.
It's going to take a large shift in paradigm, though, to get people to say, well, you have to start doing this on your own. No, I don't want to do it. I want you to do it for me. No, I mean,
that's one of the things that it's Independent Council on Aging. I mean, we are independent, and but people, they're responsible. Ultimately, your responsibility for your retirement is your responsibility. So it's getting older in America is not an easy thing.
Right.
But getting the information is very key, and that's what we bring together as a group is a bunch of different information to help people in their pursuit of a happy, prosperous retirement.
I noticed in your guide here, and you were speaking earlier, that you have competing services in here. There's no doubt about it. But you mentioned something I thought that was interesting. When you get together and meet, something happens.
We have monthly meetings, so all of our members get together on a monthly basis. We just have a luncheon meeting, it's like an hour and a half. But during those meetings, the neat thing is that those competing agencies are all there sharing lunch, and we're all focused on one thing, and that's meeting the mission of ICA and fostering that positive image on aging and improving the quality of life. Everybody has that same goal. So when we meet at our meetings, it's neat to see people across the table who, as soon as they leave our meetings, are going to be out there competing for customers, but while they're there at the meeting, they're all on the same page of trying to better the life for all seniors in Erie County. And that is a common mantra for all members.
I think what I'm hearing you saying, this is a growth industry. So it's like maybe 10 years ago, so prisons were a growth industry. We were building them all over the place. And now that is moved into providing services for, and you can list that from the alpha to the omega, for people who don't all go to Florida, don't all live in the villages perhaps down there, or don't go to New Mexico or San Diego and live. Do you find, generally speaking, as people age, they stay in place, or do they want to be snowbirds, both, or it all depends upon money?
It really does.
Yeah.
Well, there's monetary considerations. I find a lot of people that talk to me, family's very key, and they want to be, if they're not close to their family today in their retirement, they want to gravitate to their family. So if that family's in North Carolina, Alaska, wherever family is, that's where people want to go.
Okay.
Typically. Not always. Sometimes they want to be south and their family comes to visit them. But as we've had I think a lot of our youth has gone away from Erie and gone south, and that's where many of their parents are going to end up going with them.
Okay.
But it just, you can't really predict what somebody's going to do in their retirement until they really get there.
That's so key to Erie too, because as I go to national conferences and discuss aging services with people across the country, it's so unique to Erie, or most of the Rust Belt cities for that matter, that they've had the brain drain. Their kids have moved away, whereas they stayed here. Those with means may have been able to go to Florida and be snowbirds and come back for 6 or 8 months out of the year. But for the majority of people, especially those impoverished people, they're here, they're staying here. But their neighborhoods have changed, their family support systems have changed. And one of the key things that our network looks at is that isolated senior, because it's becoming a growing problem that, again, that senior ages in place in their home, and a lot of their support services, their neighbors no longer talk to each other in today's society, and all those things that urban planning discusses are all happening right here in Erie. And we need a lot of the services provided by the members of the ICA are those things that keep isolated seniors in contact and engaged with society.
Let's see if we can put a real number on this, because we're dancing around this. When you say that you're going to be stopping what you normally do and you just can't work anymore, you don't want to work anymore, is there a dollar figure you can say you better have set aside, or you should have done this, or make sure that you do this? That's a big question, I know.
There's formulas.
Let's not be too scary.
Yeah, there's formulas out there, of course, for all types of situations,
Oh, sure.
but it really comes down to how they're going to draw down their retirement. I mean, some people can live on Social Security and just make that money last every month, and some folks, their lifestyle, they just can't support it. So as they look in the future, there are all kinds of calculators on the internet. Of course, they sit down their financial planner and get those details. But unfortunately, most people are not saving as much as they should. That's the one thing that we're noticing as a company. It's just not out there. And it's a problem with the economy.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you why my parents, especially my mother, having lived through World War II, man, I mean, you talk about a bargain shopper and saving. What happened that we don't do that anymore? Why have we become not savers?
Well, there's a school of thought that is kind of coming back, but not as much as it should be. I think we want it now.
Mm-hmm.
We want everything now, and if we're able to get it on credit, we'll get it on credit.
Mm-hmm.
Credit's expensive,
Mm-hmm.
coming from a financial institution, but it is expensive. It
Mm-hmm.
costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably one of the biggest faults that we have is the generation that came from World War II, they'll wait. They'll wait, they'll pay cash. They'll finance their car, they'll finance their house, but everything else, they'll wait and they'll get the money in the bank, then they'll go buy it.
They grew up doing without. And
Absolutely.
They put themselves in peril so that they can pass on a legacy and stuff like that. So that is a big issue. And again, everybody's situation is so unique.
Mm-hmm.
You almost need some kind of one-on-one counseling and who you're comfortable with talking with.
But again, this is what you do. This is what the Independent Council of Aging does, is to give people a menu from which to choose as to what you think is most important to you and what you need to have help with. In fact, as simple as transportation. My father, we had to take the keys away from him because we were afraid not only would he hurt somebody else in an accident, and also hurt himself. And then he grew to realize, yeah, I shouldn't be driving anymore. But my mother voluntarily gave up the keys and said, I don't want to do this anymore. It's just too nervous for me to do that. So everybody, you're right, is so individualistic in what they're doing. But you mentioned before we were taping that somebody said, I might need $1 million to live out my life?
And that's just with the rising cost of health care and long-term care. Nursing facilities upwards of $70,000 for a whole year of 24-hour round-the-clock care. Almost nobody has that. Even the federal government and state governments don't have those. So going forward, it's public-private partnerships, and that's also the beauty of ICA. We're already public, private, for-profit, non-profit businesses, professionals all coming together to try and address the issues. And that really is the way it's going to go in the future. It's the only way it's going to work because money doesn't grow on trees, as we said earlier.
No. No. We got a couple of minutes left. We can split this up, or Rick or Matt, you can take it. Well, Rick, you're the membership chair. Make your pitch. We got a couple minutes left. You want whom?
Well, ICA is composing about 85, 90 members on an average year. Sometimes we top over 100.
And you're talking about the people,
all the people in the guide to services.
Okay.
I mean, if you join ICA, you eventually get up and you get your name, and you want to spend extra money, you can get your advertising on there.
back, sure.
A little
Well,
bit
you
more,
have-
but
yeah.
that's part of your membership. We typically have the majority of our lunches down at the Regency, and the lunch is sometimes worth the whole membership.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that.
Okay.
Eat well there. It's
Yes.
good food.
Good.
But you also get the whole group of people to network with. When you have an issue, I primarily deal with just the senior population, and as I'm going throughout my day, I'm running into different scenarios, and some things I can solve with what I do, some things I can't, and I can pick up the phone and call a trusted person who does some other kind of service to give that name and number to.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always mean that the client follows up with that person, but at least they have a start.
Okay.
It may not be where they ultimately end up.
Really quick, Independent Council on Aging has been in the community for over 50 years, so
Started
we've been
with-
around for a
started
long
with
time.
United Way?
In the United Way, right.
And then it
was
spun
a
off
council.
to Salvation Army, I think I read somewhere in
So
there.
they started a senior center at Salvation
Salvation
Army,
Army,
and then
yeah.
in the late 70s, early 80s, they became a private nonprofit association. One of those things we've done over that years is projects. And some of our reoccurring projects, besides the Guide to Services, which is something that everybody's always liked, we also do annually a caregivers conference, which we did educational conferences in the years past, and this year, in the last couple of years, we've been doing a caregiver relief. So those caregivers that spend their day with seniors in need, just to get some respite and relief, we work with Juniors Last Laugh and Comedy Club, and they provide comedians. It's been a great event. That happens we're doing it in March. And then the other major event we do is for seniors themselves, a senior art show. It's a juried show. It's in May. Any senior who's not a paid professional artist can submit work and win prizes and stuff like that under a juried show. So those two main events are Guides to Services and our website. are the main things that we do.
Got the mother loads right there, huh? Okay.
It's busy.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
We won't have
to it.
lack for work. That's
Rick,
for
thanks
sure.
so much. Matthew, thank you so much.
you.
Thank you so much. This is the Independent Council on Aging. There's a plethora of information for you. There's a lot of information for you. And the website again?
ICAErie.org.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us. I'm Phil Fatika. Take care.